All right, here we go. So, good evening, family. Welcome to the inaugural episode of The Waking Giant, TWG. It is a podcast that we are bringing forth from the Phoenix Local Organizing Committee for Justice or Else, otherwise known as the Phoenix LOC, out of Phoenix, Arizona. The Waking Giant is a medium where we speak about things that directly affect the Black community, but not only just the Black community here in Phoenix, but the community globally. All right. So today I have three out of there's nine total, including myself. So about two or three more leadership of the LOC here. We have three of the ministries, the heads of the ministries of the LOC here, and I will let them introduce themselves. But starting with myself, I am Brother Jermaine. I am head of the Ministry of Information. I will be bringing to you the podcast of the Waking Giant, TWG. Below me, I have Brother Chamikas. Then I have Sister Zoe and Brother Ali. And each one of us will talk about what our particular ministries are, what we do, our goals, the purpose of the ministries, the whole nine. So just sit back, relax, and just take in some of this information you're going to receive from the Phoenix LOC. So I'd like to start first with Brother Chamikas. Introduce yourself, let everybody know who you are, where you come from, what you're doing, how you even got started in this, brother. Let's start with you, and then everybody else do the same, and then we'll get into everybody's ministry.
Wow. Okay.
Start with you, Chamikas. Just tell me how you got this going, and the impetus behind it, why you helped create this.
The Phoenix LOC as a whole, correct?
Yes, sir. The Phoenix LOC as a whole.
Okay. My name, of course, is Brother Tramikas Muhammad. I'm the chair of the Phoenix LOC. My particular ministry, the Ministry of Spiritual Development, and I guess we'll get into that later. How did I get into this? I got into it with the Million Man March. As we know, the Phoenix LOC is birthed, the LOCs are birthed out of the Million Man March local organizing committees. And these were committees that were all over the country at that time in 1995 that were principally responsible for galvanizing the men, spreading the message, and getting the 2 million men to Washington, D.C. that we did. At that time, fresh out of high school, I was 18 or 19 years old. I was one of those who helped organize at the headquarters, and then on the way to Washington, D.C., I was the bus captain of the two buses, one from Flint and one from Saginaw, Michigan. Then again, the Millions More movement. When the Millions More movement came around, I became the chair of the LOC in Flint, Michigan, to help organize the Millions More movement. The Millions More movement took the LOCs to another level, and the LOCs were responsible then, as they are now, with the establishment of the 9 ministries. Began that organizing effort, helped to organize the LOCs in Flint, Michigan, eventually moved on to help organize the LOC that at that time was called the Central Region, which is Michigan, Illinois, Ohio, and a couple other states I can't remember. So throughout that region, my responsibility became to organize the LOCs, put structure around the LOCs and get them going, because we had quite a bit going on in Flint, and that just led us to that position. Then from there, started being a part of organizing the LOCs in the central or Midwest area, which is commonly known as, and then deep down into the South, Alabama, Mississippi, that area, began the process of helping to organize LOC in that region of the country as well. So total, I've been doing this work for well over 20 years in one way or another. When the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March came, at that time, literally, brother, I was very ill. And I was laying in my bed and I was watching a lecture of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. At that time, he was 80-something years old. And he was working. And he was saying, I'm 80 years old and I'm still working on my post. And I made the decision laying in that bed that I was not going to spend the rest of my life waiting to die. That literally was the conversation that I had with myself. And I got up from my bed and I went to be a part of the organizing of the LOC, Local Organizing Committee here in Phoenix. I originally was only charged with the responsibility of getting the LOC up and running and finding the co-chair for the LOC. That was my original responsibility. And it was a job of going out into the community and finding those who would lead or take responsibility and lead the LOC. Well, I ran into a serious roadblock. And I won't name names, but I met with a sister, very prominent sister in the city, and told her of what we was trying to do to organize for the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March, the Just the Else movement, to start LOC, the Phoenix LOC, and to find co-chair. And I was running into serious roadblock because much of the leadership in the city, they were ducking, dodging, or not responding. And they were giving me these excuses. And she said, Brother Tramika, she said, I'm going to tell you, she said, they're lying to you. That's not the truth. And she said, I want you to sit here and I'm going to make some phone calls. And she had me sit quietly. She made phone calls and put them on the speakerphone. And she introduced who she was. When she introduced herself, she got a welcome reception from everyone that she talked to. And then she told them, she said, are you familiar with the Just the Else movement and the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March? And most would hesitate, they would say yes. And then she said, well, I want you to help. And every last one of them flat out said to her, we don't want to touch it. We don't want to be part of organizing for the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March. They were afraid of the or else. They didn't know what that meant. So they didn't want to touch it. And after she did that for a while, she looked at me and she said, Brother Tramika, I'm just going to tell you straight up, they are afraid. And it really put me in a dilemma because I was new to the city and I understood what the minister wanted, but I made the decision at the table at that time that we would just go after the people. If we can't get the leadership in the city to support the idea and the vision of justice or else after all our people are suffering, if they're afraid, then let's go after their congregations. If they're afraid, let's go after their membership.
Right. So how long ago was it that you?
That was 5 years ago.
5 years ago. So the Phoenix LOC for Justice or Else has been in operation for 5 years now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Sister Zoe, can you tell us about how you got started in the LOC and why? And just tell us what your ministry is.
So my name is Zoe Sarbo, and I oversee the Ministry of Education within the Phoenix Local Organizing Committee. Initially, when I met Brother Ali and Brother Tramika, I was involved with another organization here in Phoenix, and both organizations collaborated, worked together on community-related projects. And so I initially was going to be working closely with them. And then as life takes its course, I started working much more closely with the Phoenix Local Organizing Committee, seeing that there was a need and seeing that education is very much a passion of mine. I transitioned into becoming the leader of the Ministry of Education, and in that role and in that capacity, it has been my mission to really expand the ministry, which part of its goal being to start a school, and I'm sure we're going to talk about that as we proceed, and everything education related for the community. I joined, I think, about 4 years ago, and we've been growing ever since.
Okay, so you've been down for a while. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So you said education is kind of your focus. That's what your ministry is.
I
Um,
mean,
briefly, what is your experience in education?
um, well, I taught at ASU for about 3 years. So I taught Intro to African and African American Studies and Blacks in Science, Health, and Medicine um, within the African and African American Studies department. So those were my focus areas. And then quite recently, I transitioned to middle school. Yes, it's a big jump. So right now I teach eighth graders at a middle school in West Phoenix. It's very different, with the expectations and what are the requirements of an educator is very different between the college level and the middle school level, but
And,
definitely up for the challenge and loving it.
and I'm sure you're getting a bird's eye view on what
Uh,
education system really has to offer
oh, oh yes,
our,
oh yes,
our young people. All right,
yes.
Brother Ali, tell us, introduce yourself to the audience. Tell us how you got involved in the LOC, what your ministry is.
Definitely. Peace, everybody. Brother Ali, my ministry is trade and commerce, or also known as economic empowerment. And how I came and got involved with the LOC was actually through a barbershop discussion. So I'm originally from Texas and Alabama, and I moved out here about 12 years ago, and was just working and just kind of moving through life and trying to find my way. And I just started to take more and more notice of the condition of the world and my place in it, and tried to find ways to contribute to positive change. And I think I had seen Brother Tramika speak at an event at one of the rebranding the Black Man Summits. I think that's where I first saw you speak. It was before that's right. It was before the Million Man March. And this brother, the police were there, right? They were part of the summit. And Brother Shemikas is doing what Brother Shemikas does, And I hadn't seen anybody speak like that before, especially with the police in the room. And you could tell like the temperature was up and people was nervous and scared of what was going to happen. Half the people probably thought it was crazy, but I was like, man, I like this brother. It's something about him that drew me to him. And so I interacted with him a little bit afterwards. And then I think at that point I started following what the LOC was doing. I didn't go to the anniversary, but then after everybody came back, that's when some more work started going on. And I came out to a barbershop discussion and got a chance to participate in the discussion. I connected with Big Mike, if anybody knows Big Mike. Just a lot of the people that are in the community who are shining lights in the community now. We were little seedlings then. So it's beautiful to see the growth that has occurred in the city. And, we were all in them barbershops together, yelling and screaming and, talking about what we wanted to see in the community. And so once I got an opportunity the privilege to be in that kind of environment, there's no going back. And, I just have been picking up responsibility and trying to, do the same thing, find my way within the organization and do what I can. And, and then took on leadership responsibility and it's kept going.
So trade and commerce or economic empowerment, why that particular area for you?
Yeah. So as I was finding my way in the organization and finding my way in the world, I just started to look at what my strengths and skills were, along with what the needs were that existed in the community. And for me, a lot of it was economic power, right, and business. We need business to generate income. Like a lot of the things that have happened to us, a lot of things that still continue to happen to us because of resource, right? They won't let us out of the prison system because they want that cheap labor, just like slavery. we suffer in the health system, we suffer in the education system, we suffer in every system that exists because of lack of. One of the reasons is because of lack of economic power. It's not the sole reason.
Mhm.
So, but that lined up with what my passion was and what my interests are. I was raised in an entrepreneurial family. My mom has been doing business since I was a baby. You know, I was a little side hustle entrepreneur since I was in middle school, and you know, so all those things came in line, and I'm just passionate about it. So I saw the need for it, my passion for it, and a little bit of skill that I have in it, and those things lined up to make sense of me being a part of the economic empowerment and Ministry of Trade and Commerce.
That's what's up. All right, all right. So, and finally, for me, for myself, I'm Brother Jermaine, originally out of New York and LA, head of the Ministry of Information for the Phoenix LOC. And man, how I even came to LOC, I think I saw a few of the barbershop discussions on Facebook, and just kind of said, all right, there's some people out there doing some things. Like Brother Chamikas, I've been in this struggle in a different form. We talked about it, but I've been in this struggle for 20 plus years myself. And as an actual, I'll just say it, as an actual like priest and scholar, you know what I mean? I studied and with a spiritual understanding. But I developed a habit of reading quickly and absorbing information and able to expound on anything from the alignment of the stars and to different types of languages to and I realized that I had this ability to kind of retain this information and able to disseminate, and having also the ability to write. um, in past organizations, I was responsible for kind of the media. I was the one that was writing the pamphlets and making sure everybody gets out there. If there was a newsletter organized, I had the lead copy, and I made sure that, so I kind of was the one that was pushing that, out there. So that was kind of always my thing. And moving to Phoenix, kind of just like Brother Ali, just working, just kind of making my way through life, pipe dreaming, about things I wanted, but just what a lot of Black people in this country do, man. You just kind of get by. You get a job, you take care of your family. And I discovered that Phoenix, in particular, Arizona, as a whole, was a place where if you want to just dip and get away from everything, you can do that. And no one would care. You go in your bubble, and that's that. Where I come from, two of the most extreme cities in the country, where you get, there is none of that. There is no hiding, in either place. So here was a little different. So to run into brothers and sisters who were conscious, who were, about something, it kind of tugged at me. I've been to a few meetings, and I kind of just, just seeing what was there, feeling it out. Past experiences have made me leery of, groups and things like that. And so, I kind of was just using my third eye, my spidey sense, and just kind of seeing if there was any possibility of how I could fit in. So I kind of slid into this role because I originally was part of the Ministry of Education, but then realized that my skill set, even though I had an interest in that, my skill set didn't quite match, that. Designing curriculum and things like that. I'm more of a macro thinker where I'm whole, as opposed to, devil in the detail type of thing. So information is just that. It's whole and it's detailed. And that's where my writing come in. So that's how I became part of the Ministry of Information, and part of the Phoenix LLC. So boom, you have our stories. Now, I want to start again with Brother Ali. Now with the Ministry of Trade and Commerce, Economic Empowerment. Before you came on, I was showing everybody, what I'm saying, the Claude Anderson Powernomics.
Oh yeah.
This book right here, you can see the bookmark in it. So, I'm making my way through it right now.
Yes, sir.
Man, he backs it up with history. So I don't know if you're familiar with his idea of vertical. Um,
Yeah,
so
I'm pretty familiar.
okay, so with your ministry, what kind of plans and ideas do you have, to further the goals, to kind of, make the ministry influential? Like, what mechanics are you planning on using, to help that?
Yeah, so
Facilitate that.
yeah, we have a um we have a big task ahead of us and a big vision to accomplish that task. And we're focused on two fronts, right? So we're focused on building the economy and the economic viability of the organization, right? Like we have to have a financially strong and viable organization that can employ people, that has the resources to go and do, right? Anything that we need to go and do. So from that standpoint, we're looking at different businesses, different business strategies and tactics that we can employ, right? We have a few that are in place right now. We had a bookstore, well, it's on hiatus right now due to the quarantine period, but we have a bookstore. Soon we'll have a cafe, right? TWG is a business. We're launching a podcast now. Have a website in the works, the email newsletter, all those things. From t-shirts to different products that we can sell all the way down. We're bootstrapped. We're a dues paying organization. So we're looking at every single thing that we can do. We just had a group home training on Saturday to help people learn how to establish group homes because we're in the process of trying to open a group home because it'll allow our behavioral health home because it'll allow us to take care of our own folks, right, that are coming out of the system and also provide jobs and generate resources to fund this work. So every single strategy that makes sense that we have the resources to employ are things that we're looking at from an organization standpoint, right? But then we're also tasked with trying to build up the economic viability of the community itself. All right. So we are always trying to educate on different opportunities similar to the powernomics approach, right? Um, you have to have the different levels, right? I forgot what the base was. I think the base might have been education or something like that.
No, uh, no, education was nearer the top. Education was,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay, got you,
It was
got you,
the
got you.
5 pillars. I know what you mean. It's the
Yeah, 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 yeah. So in that standpoint, it's the same thing. We do a lot of our main focus is on a grassroots level of trying to get people to go, trying to get the community to go out and support the businesses that we already have. And we do that through events like cash mobs and different buying campaigns because we need to first be able to circulate our own dollar, right, and build up our own economy, build up the own institutions that we already have. Because instead of giving all of our resources away to the Asian-owned beauty supply stores, the Asian nail salons, whatever's, right, we should be keeping that money in house, and then we'll be able to have a much stronger economy, a much stronger body of our own, right? But then we also recognize that, even if we were circulating all of the dollars, right, we still need to have businesses and strategies that we employ that just like everybody else, it gets everybody's dollars, right? So we focus on building green businesses, not just for ourselves, but for the entire community. So to as a long-winded answer, I would say we're focused on every single thing that we can do to bring in resources to build up the organization and build up the community, and we're doing that using these strategies, right? The bookstore initially, TWG initially, our T-shirts initially, our membership dues initially, and then every time we have an opportunity to build on it and create a new revenue stream, a new stream of income, and those are different tactics that we can start to employ.
Absolutely, absolutely. Man, I just had a point with that. Uh, That kind of takes me back to that spirit of entrepreneurship, that spirit of do for self, is reminiscent of, when we came right out of slavery, um, right after the Civil War. We had to we had to adopt a mind state of we all we have because we were truly all we had. And that was kind of the birth of, you know, the Rosewoods in Florida, the Greenwood section of Tulsa, the, Raleigh and Durham and all of these areas, all over the country where we were building these towns and these little cities where, we were prosperous. I see that as, do you see that as where we are now? I see it myself as where we're kind of in that state right now where we're just coming out of a sleepy slumber in a sense, you know what I mean? Where slavery was that, even though it was brutal. Now we're coming out of a point to where, it's being said that we all we have, because other people are showing us in the media, around the world, in our own damn neighborhood, in our own city, that we don't have any friends. So we had to build that economic base. We had to figure out how to do that. And this leads into another ministry, I think the ministry of agriculture, where the base foundation of any civilization was the land, farming, growing the food and the crops. That was the economy. So I know there are things in the works for that too, with the organization in itself. But do you feel that spirit, in the city of that coming together in a business sense, where we're looking at each other and saying, we have to build now. So let's figure out how we're gonna, especially with trade and commerce, we're talking money, we're talking finances, we're talking what Dr. Carter said was vertical growth. We're talking how we're gonna vertically grow, not horizontally grow. Because racism and how we deal with racism is horizontal, but now we're talking about growing vertically. So do you see that coming up real soon? Do you see that?
Without question. I mean, it was present and it was prevalent before this whole situation popped off, right? Like we've been talking about in our circle within the organization, we've been talking about the need for us to have our own institutions, for us to be independent, right? And we've been moving in that direction. This situation has really exacerbated things, blown the lid off of what we thought was a safety net, what most of us thought was a safety net, right? Like, so the conversations that have begun now and will soon begin, as a result of what's going on, is only going to add fuel to that fire, right? Because we already have seen a number of our people are being laid off, being furloughed, or being, affected adversely because of this, right? But we also are seeing people who are using this and taking advantage and seeing opportunity to generate income and to generate wealth and to build business and so on and so forth as a result of this. So that is, and when we lay over the lens of what's happening in the health system and link that to what you just said of nobody cares, right? Nobody's gonna save us. It's actually the opposite, right? They're looking to exploit us. They're exploiting our labor, right? They're not gonna help us when we're being negatively impacted, right? So it's 100% of repeating of history. When we look at Reconstruction and we look at the building of Black Wall Street, we look at all these periods, right? In a time of awakening, time of a paradigm shift we are living in, right? And I was just looking at land, Brother Tramika, I was just looking at land yesterday, right? I'm not gonna say where, but what everything that we thought was necessary and everything that we thought was important of being close to the city and being, having access to these things. Right now, the main thing that's important to me is having my own food growing, right? Because what if the grocery store shut down?
And clean water.
Right? And clean water, right? Like so what is necessary and what is important has changed. And so instead of us reacting, like a lot of the history of this country is reactive, right? Reacting to the things that these inhumane people have been doing, and us expecting them to act like human beings, and it hasn't happened, right? And we suffer consequences time and time again. And so it's time for us to once again be proactive and think about the power that we do have, right? The abilities that we do have, the gifts and talents that we do have, bringing those things together and charting our own destiny. So yes, I 100% believe that that's the time that we're living in right now, and the people are looking for leadership, and that's what's so beautiful and so critical about this organization is, we have shown time and time again that we don't have an agenda. We're not looking to profit off of the people. We're not looking to, we're genuine and authentic in our purpose, right? And we're fearless about what we do. And so I am excited about what's to come, and looking forward to it. But yes, absolutely. That's the time that we're living in right now.
Absolutely. And Zoe, that's education is probably besides finance, besides building an economic base, without an educated population, how are we going to build a solid economy that can last, centuries? As an educator, I'm sure you understand the goal, the viability of planning and how essential planning is. And in piggybacking what the brother was saying, as we're repeating history, the people that we dealing with have 50, 60, 100, 200-year plans. You know what I mean? Like what's happening now was planned in the 70s. Feel me? But education has always been something that we as Black people in this country have always valued. But not only in this country, around the world, and I think that's true that's true Black culture, in my opinion, the true identity of Black culture and excellence is education. That's a pillar. So as the Minister of Education, how do you see your role, in the organization, in the community? And how do you feel that the miseducation of our youth can be addressed? I think she froze on me. You there, Zoe? Yeah, she looked like she froze. We'll see when she'll come back. All right, well, we'll go to Brother Chamikas until Zoe unfreezes, and we just have her come back. So, Brother Chamikas, as a head of, the ministry of, was it spirituality?
Spiritual development.
Spiritual development. You have to, in order to do that, you have to have a certain outlook, and a certain way that you view things, and you kind of view things in a whole. Tell me how you feel about the current environment and the necessity for your ministry for the community, and how effective you feel that your ministry can be in the community at the same time.
It's a big question. Well, spiritual development as a ministry really is a necessary component of every ministry, right? That's why we say spiritual development is the 10th ministry, and the 10th ministry is the head, right? Right now, looking at the condition of the people, some caught up in conspiracy, some caught up in the reality of the day. What I mean by that is the economic situation, or everything that we're faced right now, and all that it covers. It's only one way we make it through it, and that's with our spiritual eye, our spiritual development, our being able to see beyond what's in front of us, and to see deeper into what's happening in our communities in particular. I think that the success of us as a people is going to depend on our ability to understand that there's no growth for us truly if it's not spiritual. Because what we end up doing is creating the world that we're trying to get out of. It's interesting that we live in a country that believes in a separation in law of church and state, a separation of God from government, in a spiritual sense, a separation from heaven and earth, right? The two exist together. If you take one away, then that's how you get the greed that you see. That's how you get the selfishness that you see, the corporate greed that runs this country, where we're seeing now that the money has always been there to take care of the American people when they're in need, but it hasn't happened. Um, Ali talked about dealing with a people who don't have a soul. The soul of this country has been taken away. And if you believe that the soul of this country is our people, then the soul of this country has absolutely been abused and in some cases destroyed. So to answer your question in a short sense, because I really want to get back to Zoe and get her opportunity to answer this question that you asked her. Spiritual development is absolutely necessary. We will not grow as a people, and we will not grow as a nation of people if we don't develop our spiritual ability. And I'm not, now close with this point, I'm not talking about religion. I'm not talking about religion. Religion is a vehicle, it's a tool that can be used and is used to connect us with our spirituality. But we as a people don't necessarily need religion. Our nature is the nature of God. So I'll close with that point on that. I hope that answers your question.
It does. And I want you to hold that point because I want to come back to that after we talk to Zoe. And just kind of hold the point. And then when we come back to you, you can go ahead and go right into it. But it's, you know our people, okay? We got Christians, we got Buddhists, we got atheists, we got Muslims, we got everything under the sun in our community. So just hold the point. I'm just giving it to you. So, and then we'll go on to Zoe, and then we'll come back to you. But you get where I'm coming at? Like, how do you see getting our people to kind of put that stuff to the side, you know what I'm saying, and find a way to rise above that without feeling that you're taking something away from them? You know what I mean? So we'll get into that, you know, what's after we talk to Zoe. All right, Zoe, you back? I see you.
I don't know what happened. My phone just decided that this was not the time. Sorry about that.
It's like, Zoe? Zoe? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Nah, no problem. Sis. So yeah, so education. You see, as an educator, you get that bird's eye view because you're right in the thick of it. I'm sure you've noticed something's not right. And
yes.
So there was an impetus for you to become part of this ministry because I'm sure you saw, hey, it's something I can do to right this to right this wrong in a sense, and to kind of figure out how to re-educate miseducated people. So Dr. Claude Anderson also talks about education as a pillar. Dr. Boyce Watkins talks about education as a foundation of building a successful nation, where you're building an economy, you're educating your own children, and you're building businesses to employ your own people. So in that role, how do you see where you can be effective for the community? And how do you see the state of education now, and how important it is for us to reconnect to who we are in education?
I'll start off by saying that I think I connect a little bit to the spiritual part, that everything happens for a reason. I started off, when I started with the LOC, I was still involved with at the college level teaching, and I would be teaching college students about Black history, right? And then I say Black at a more global level. When I say Black, as in African Americans, Black from the Caribbean, from the continent of Africa, they're all encompassing diaspora. And I recognize even at that level that there is still a lack of certain information and understanding of the history and why things are the way they are. And now that I have transitioned to the middle school level, it's the need and the importance of the right education, because we're all educated in some way, right? The need for a type of education that really helps us and sustains us as a community, as a people, is so much more needed, and lacking. The need, it's lacking. Um, and there can be no successful civilization, no successful society if the people at its core are not educated, right? And not educated in a way that really benefits the community. And so where I am positioned, that I am unfortunately, I'm consistently being reminded as to why education is so important. Because if we're talking about really helping the community, but the people do not have the skill set and the knowledge and the history of why it's important, what it takes to achieve certain goals, or what it takes, or what skill sets you need to create this ideal community that you need, then there's no way that you can be successful. So I honestly do feel that education is the absolute foundation of which everything else can be built upon, because without an educated people, you have nothing.
Absolutely. An ignorant class is slaves. You're just signing up for slavery at that point. And education to me is so important. Especially after reading The Miseducation of the Negro like 2 or 3 times. It's we've been purposely kind of steered, in this system. You know what I mean? And we've been complaining about the whack education system in this country since the brother wrote the book in the 30s. Okay, so this is something that we already understood as far as the miseducation of our people. As a head of the Ministry of Education, I'm sure you see that we got some hard-headed folks out there, and that we got brothers and sisters that don't value education, that don't see, the importance of it, that think Black culture is shaking your booty and rap music and fried chicken and collard greens, as opposed to excellence, as opposed to our DNA is excellence. That's all we've known. That's all we do. There's pyramids and stuff all over the planet because of us. You feel what I'm saying? So how do you see, especially as an educator, what have you noticed works best on your students to get them to open up and say and receive, the information that you're giving them? Because now you're talking about a community of 100,000 Negroes who need to be re-educated, not only education, but in business and spirituality. We need a total overhaul. You know what I mean? Not all of us are going to make it out of this thing, but we have to, as the workers here, we've been called to do this work. So as the workers here, what have you seen that was effective with your students that maybe you could possibly employ in the community?
Yeah, that's a good question. And this, your question really speaks of the results of the history that we've had.
Absolutely.
We can become very impatient with who we are as a people. But it's wrapped with the understanding that once you've been colonized and oppressed for such an extended period of time, what is it, over 400 years, there must have been some kind of lasting impact on us, spiritually, on our psyche, and how we view ourselves. And if you live within a system that determines your destiny and frames your outlook on life and how you see yourself, it will have some damage on us. But I say that within the context that we're still able to make such tremendous impact globally on other cultures, even within that context of what we've gone through. But those things that you said is the little that we have left to hold on to, right? Because so much of who we are has been beaten and ripped and torn out of us, that whatever there is, that's what we use. And so for me, when I'm speaking to and I'm teaching those young students, I try to impart on them that we're home, so much more than what you see. I share, examples of people who have done things that they can be proud of. Give them stories of cultures that's beyond what they know, so that they can have something else to grasp, because their reality is not what we know. Their reality is what's being fed to them consistently through the media. And if they're in an environment where the alternative is not supported, is not shared, is not presented to them, then they're going to need people in their lives to really provide that that knowledge and that background of, Blackness means so much more than what you really think it is. And so once you have those conversations with them, you can see them, say, this is not that bad. That's the rewards of being an educator for me.
And that's something that's beautiful. And that's beautiful. And I think that once we turn that corner, the system has no choice but to fall, and we have no choice but to rise and regain our natural position as the heads of this planet, not only the planet, but the universe. Man, you brought me to another point too. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, should I ask you to tell the audience where you were born, where you're from, because of your accent and things like that? And I'm saying no. You know why?
That's okay.
Because
why?
It doesn't matter. What matters is you Black. You see what you see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
Now we have to start pulling away, because wherever you from, some white man named it, and we're both speaking the white man's language. We're eating his food. Wherever island or continent you from, his name, his language, his influence is already there. So what difference does it make? It's a boat stop. It's another master. It's whatever. It doesn't matter. We have to start seeing ourselves now as a global family.
And that is true.
That's who we are. Our experiences are the same. Okay, you just got whipped probably out of French. My master was British. Okay, somebody else's was Spanish. You know what I mean? Yours is probably Spanish, French, and Dutch. You know what I'm saying? So we that's who we are. So even though the accent is beautiful, it's all that, but I don't think it's that important. I think we really should start seeing ourselves as a global family, because you know what? The mother folks do. They get on code globally. So I think we need to start doing that. We need to start, and me, you and I, as the head of our particular ministries, need to partner, and we will partner on certain things, because education and information go hand in hand as well. You need the information in order to educate, but education comes from within. So once that idea of the child is being birthed and born, they need that information to come in and give them that totality. So our ministries definitely work, hand in hand, on how we can do something as simple as just disseminating information on history. We'll maybe do a history class and have people act it out for the children, just so they can see. And I mean some real stuff like Bacon's Rebellion or Nat Turner, or you know what I mean, or inventors. They don't even know that a Black man invented a car in this country. A Black man invented the lawnmower in this country, the air conditioner. Feel me? That's information that they need to be educated on. And I think that the more the Phoenix LOC grows, becomes more cohesive, we will grow that influence, and we will be what our community needs us to be, and provide, all of this for them, because you know what? They need us. Bottom line, the community needs groups like us out there putting in that work. So Brother Chamikas, back to the question with you. I kind of forgot the question a little bit because something else kind of came in, but I hope you remember. But can you expound on what I brought to you? That question I brought to you, brother.
Yes, sir. What it is, brother, is tribalism,
Yes.
right? So these different religions that we have to have a respect for them, right? We come from different viewpoints, right? We come from the Nation of Islam. We come from African spirituality. We come from the Hebrew Israelite point of view. At some point, we even had those of us who are part of our organization who are atheists, right? So we come from different viewpoints of who and what God is, right? And then we get into our nationalities, and then we get into the region. So when we talk about spiritual development, though, my teacher, I always have to give credit to my teacher because I didn't come up with it on my own. Being a student of Minister Farrakhan, he has always taught us to look at the principle more than the title, right? And when you look at the principles of religion, prayer, fasting, meditating, submitting to a higher power, overcoming your lower nature or your lower desire. All of these things are consistent through every religion. So then when it comes from a spiritual standpoint, rather than me focus on whether or not you pray with your hands outstretched, or if you pray with your palms together, that's not important. What you are calling on is the God, the creator of it all, right? To help us to navigate through sometimes our international problems, sometimes our national problems, but in oftentimes our own personal life and dealings in life and trying to understand life, right? That's based on principle. That's not based on religious type. And that's critically important because in our community, religion is one of the tools that's being used to divide us. And our lack of understanding of religion at its essence has been used, and I would like to say, weaponized against us.
Absolutely.
Because if we really understand the principle of the religious faith that we practice, then we'll find that we're all brothers and sisters. Right? We just choose different vehicles, but we're trying to get to the same place.
Same destiny.
Right?
Right.
Whether you're from the Caribbean, whether you're from Central or South America, or whether you are found on the continent or elsewhere in the diaspora, we are all trying to become liberated and free, right, from our oppressor. You said it earlier, whether our oppressor was the French, whether our oppressor was the Portuguese, whether our oppressor was the British, right, they were still our oppressor. And whether we learn Spanish or whether we learn English or whether we learn French, these are the languages of the oppressor. Likewise, most times, the understanding that we have of religion is based on the understanding that our oppressor gave us. And that's twofold, right? Because the Catholics and the Protestants and the Baptists and you keep going on, they all had different beasts with each other, right? So when you look at our brothers and sisters in Haiti, as opposed to the Dominican Republic, though they're on the same island, and in truth, they are the same people. They had different oppressors. And the hatred that the French had, I believe, for the Portuguese is the hatred that their slaves took on for each other.
It was the Spanish.
The Spanish, thank you. And the same for us everywhere we went. So a lot of our division, even in religion, is based on hatred that our oppressor or our former slave master had for those who had that other religion.
I
right?
heard. Interesting.
So we as a people, because I heard my brother Ali, he always said, the difference is that we have history behind us.
Mm-hmm.
And because we have that behind us, the study of that history allows us to clear up our thinking. Though he talked about education, you put the term in front of the education, miseducation of the Negro. Well, they miseducated us everywhere. They miseducated us in economics. They miseducated us in education itself. They miseducated us in religion, right? So we can't take on that same mindset. We have to look beyond that. And I think that for me, that's been one of the biggest successes of the LOC, is that we've been able to look past the religious belief into the principle of God, the principle of spirituality, the principle of spiritual growth and development from becoming human beings dragged down by this flesh into a deeper spiritual understanding, right?
Absolutely.
To grow, right? You talked about horizontal growth, and I'll end with this. When you die, we lay you horizontally, right? But when you talk about vertical growth, well, then you're talking about human beings going from a dead level. What do you mean when you say dead? Meaning that when a person is dead, they're unable to respond to the natural environment. So when you are not able to respond to the natural environment, a dead person, when the room gets hot, they don't sweat.
Mm-hmm.
You see? When the room gets cold, they don't shiver. They're dead. They're lifeless. Well, then what happens when you look at a people who are suffering economically and in poverty, but they don't respond by creating their own economy? What happens when you look at it? What are you looking at when you're looking at a people who are being miseducated and abused in the education system, but they don't respond by developing their own?
Mm-hmm.
Then they're spiritually dead.
Dry,
they're economically dead.
dry bones in the valley.
Dry bones in the valley. So now our focus is, how do we get our people up? How do we get us thinking on a higher level, right? How do you get us reconnected? This is truly the last point. How do you get us reconnected with who we are? Who we are, brother,
Yes, sir.
has to be said. If we are the direct descendants of God himself.
Absolutely.
The origination of the heavens and the earth and all systems of the heavens and the earth started with us. We are not those who studied creation and repeated it. We are those who are the creators. See? So you have to reconnect us with that part of ourselves. Why? Because the ministry, though they're not religious ministry, they're governmental ministry. So we have to be reconnected with who we are at essence, because we're building a new world out of the old one.
Absolutely.
That makes sense?
Absolutely.
So then we can't be caught up in religion.
Nope.
We can't be caught up in titles. We have to look at the principle of what we're doing.
Absolutely. And speaking of which, Brother Ali, we have a thing about money as a people too. We distrust. The white man's ice is colder. We just don't do business with each other like that, or there has been a history of that. Since you've been, you know what I'm saying, heading this ministry up, and since you've been in your operation and you've been in a community, that's how I met you, just at different events, you know, and we would constantly run into each other until a familiar face becomes a friend.
Yes, sir.
Have you noticed a resistance by people of really dealing with each other? Have you noticed anything like that? And when you take it back, what the brother was saying with the history, man, we built not only part of building a civilization is building an economy. So we understood how to use nature around us to our benefit, which basically is an economy. That's what kind of basically how it's defined. So have you noticed a resistance? Have you noticed, has there been an issue dealing with people, especially when you're talking money and building and coming together and you know, grassroots organized on the economic level? Like, have you, what kind of resistance have you come across, if any?
I don't I don't come across resistance in my circle. You know, like
Like that.
we have to build relationships built on love, brother.
Right.
You know, and that's the beautiful thing about the organization and the family that's developing here. You know, I hear it a lot, you know, and I might have seen it before, but I haven't experienced it here.
That's a beautiful
You
thing.
know, it's a incredibly beautiful thing. You know, it makes you feel invincible.
Right.
Um, and which we are. But you know, we have to deal with the sobering reality that, you know, that there are elements of that in society, and we understand why.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I don't allow anybody to knock us based off of the things that we've inherited, right? And the things that have been done to us that cause us to not trust each other, or that cause us to have a whatever you may call it syndrome, or crab in the bucket, or whatever the case may be, when crabs don't belong in the bucket, right? So yeah, those things may be realities in certain aspects of the community, and we understand why, and we have to confront it, and we have to deal with it, and we have to keep building, we got to keep moving forward. You know, we can't deal with every single aspect and every single symptom of the condition to the detriment of the goal that we're after, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, people have to see the benefit of unity. They have to see the benefit of sacrifice in order to understand what we're really after, right? So that's what we're about. But me personally, I don't meet the resistance. I don't see the resistance. I don't deal with the resistance. I go with the flow.
You deal with the flow. That's what's up. I think that's the wave of the future. I mean, that's really going to be how to deal with things, man. We can't the negativity if it's we know it's there, but if it's not, if you're not allowing it in your circumference, that's a beautiful thing. Then that gives me even more confidence to know that I'm part of the right group, part of the right organization, and we moving forward. And everybody's thinking the same, which is moving forward. And as long as we stay on that, I think I see nothing but growth and success in the community as far as our influence. You know what I mean? As far as people coming to the Phoenix LOC for their needs, for the things that, I mean, is education. If they need a job, you know what I mean? If they need counseling, if they need to understand how to grow their own food, if they need not only a mental counseling, you know what I mean? If they just an artist like I am, where they just want to vibe and just, I mean, that's part of who we are. We have that, you know, and I think with all of those elements, you know, involved, man, I think we have, you know, and I hate to put it this way, but we have a great product, you know what I mean? And I think that's something we could deliver to the community that's real, because um, why be fake about it? You know what I mean?
Right,
We're
right. Well, the product is love,
the product
right?
is love. That's it. I mean, we all busy, we all grown, we all got families. It's 10:43 at night. If it wasn't for love, I'd be asleep. You know, I'd be doing something else. And as everyone else, it was the love that, you know, it was the love that kept us working through the tech issues. You know what I mean? So, and still wanting to get this information out, man.
Yes, sir.
And now it's time to start closing it up, because we've been talking for a while. But I just want closing, you know, just closing statements from everybody real quick, 2-3 minutes, we close out. But for me, I just want to say that my goal for the ministry is to, information is everywhere, you know, and we're in a different time now. We're at a war. We're at a time where we're at war on several fronts. You know what I mean? It's mind, body, soul, flesh, blood, spirit, teeth, guts. It's everything. It's everything you can think of right now. This is that war of wars, you know, that one of the war wars that I think that, you know, Christ was talking about in the Bible. And I think, you know, history is repeating itself. And part of my job is to shine that light that on the community, and to be that constant pulse of knowledge, of information, of reminders, just like the other people do with their media propaganda arms, where we're constantly getting fed negative stereotypes, negative images, and black ain't nothing. And so we're constantly getting that. The white man is constantly being reaffirmed of his position in the world every time he opens his eyes, from television to films to his jobs to his artwork to his entertainment. Everything reaffirms him and his stand in this world. Okay. Our job, I feel, my job, I feel, I was put on this planet as an artist, as a writer, to reverse that. I was born in the early 70s. I think there was something about people born between the late 60s, 67, 68 to 75. There's something there, man. The children of the civil rights movement, and we just move a little different. So a lot of that stuff that they used to get over on us, with these politics and stuff, they can't do it no more. We seen our parents go through it. Now we're the age our parents were, and we seen them go through it, and our eyes are in a completely different place, because at some point we can't continue to deal with what we're dealing with. You know what I'm saying? Back to what the brother was saying, Brother Chamikas, the spirit, the veil is being lifted off. That spirit, that principle is now coming back to where we ain't gonna have no choice but to live by principle or die. You know what I mean? That's gonna be it. This country has been constructed to where we can hide from the principle. Principle could move. You don't have to operate on that particular principle and be successful. You can still be successful. You could be a mega whatever. But what good is that for us? How has that helped us as a community? And that's the question we need to ask ourselves on a consistent basis. And that's why we're here. I believe that's why we're here, to be consistent, to be the watchmen and women, and to be the providing source for our community. And I'm more than willing and up to the task, up for the job. And as I'm sure each one of you are. And we will be talking to 2 or 3 other heads of the other ministries on another broadcast. So as we close it out, family, once again, I appreciate each and every one of you for joining me on this podcast. I think we just got something going here that's I could feel it in my spirit, man. We started something right here. I think we opened up a vortex, for our people and for ourselves individually. I know for me, a vortex has been opened up. So it's time to unleash. It's time to unleash what we've been given, family. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at each one of y'all faces and I see nothing but beauty. I see nothing but determination, focus. We know we got this. Those that endure to the end, family, the same shall be saved. That's something in every text out there. You know what I mean? You got to hang on. And if we find the right souls, we going to hang on, y'all.
Brother, real quick,
yes.
I just want to say something, and maybe you can use it at another podcast. But I just want our people to understand, and we as an LOC know this. And you talked about resistance, and I definitely agree with what Brother Ali said in terms of resistance. But I do want people to understand that resistance is necessary. What makes us strong is our ability to overcome that, right? So when opposition comes to what we are attempting to do, because there's absolute opposition to what we're attempting to do, what makes us stand apart is that we don't fall under that opposition. We don't let that opposition distract us from our purpose, and we latch on to like mind to create enough strength to overcome anyone and anything that will try to or attempt to oppose us, right? Because in the hour of our rise, we cannot be under the mistaken idea that our enemies who have been against us, though he pointed out, for over 400 years, are going to allow us to rise. Not only are they not going to allow us to rise, they have put an internal checkmate in the black man and woman, that whenever an individual or a group of us rises up to take us to the next level of our liberation, there's an internal check-in that arises in us as a people to try and stop that one from achieving that goal. But it's our ability to tap into our strengths internally and overcome that resistance that will make us successful. Because they're going to oppose us on every level. We used to say this in the LOC, and I close by this. Ali pointed out where we met in that room full of police officers. And you could find that video in that room. We threatened the police in that room. And I'm not bragging about it. I'm saying that when we said those words, we were looking at what they were doing to our people throughout the country. And we were saying that we're willing to put ourselves in a position, this is my point, that if it costs us our life or our freedom or both, that we're willing to pay that kind of price. And I want to say that, and you may have to put this on a different interview, but our people today can't walk in this fight for liberation believing that it's going to be an easy walk. And we have to understand the kind of people that we're going to have to be in order to overcome those that shot down Malcolm, those that shot down King, those that deported Marcus Garvey under false charges, those that went against every leader that we have ever had, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Paul Rhodes. We can go down the list of leaders that have come, and they have always come against our leadership who's looking for freedom for us and taking them from us in one way or another. So yes, there's something special. I'm going to take it from 68 all the way up. Because when they assassinated Dr. King, over 100 cities went up in flames. There's something different about this generation of Black people that have come up from 68 all the way up until today. And it's that fearlessness and that willingness to fight being personified. And the uniqueness of the LOC, when you see the leadership that's on this podcast and you see the leadership that's on future podcasts, is that you can't point to one individual. And when you can't point to one individual anymore, remember J. Edgar Hoover wanted to stop the rise of a Black Messiah. But what he did not understand is that the spirit of the Messiah, who's a revolutionary in scripture, would come up in multiple people. And he would jump generations. So it's not just one Messiah. So one Messiah birthed many Messiahs. All of us who carry the mindset of liberation and freedom, we become the Messiahs for our people throughout the diaspora who are looking for those who would challenge their enemies and be their champion and develop the ideas, the plan, and the organization that would take us to freedom. God ain't no spook. He operates in the real world through human beings. So then that means that there has to be the development of those human beings. Yes, in the spiritual, but the spiritual produces a physical reality. The physical reality is not abracadabra. The physical reality comes out of the minds of men, the same as the world we live in came out of the minds of men. So I wanted to add that when you asked about resistance, it sparked that thought in my mind. Resistance is necessary. It's the reason why the butterfly's wings don't just pop out of the cocoon. They have to force themselves out of the cocoon. And it's that process that gives the wing strength enough to carry the butterfly away. So this resistance on us is an exercise in strengthening our muscle to finally overcome a 400-plus-year-old epic battle that we've been engaged in.
It's time. It's time.
And we are the quintessence, we are the culmination of the struggle of our people being made manifest, starting small.
Brother said we were seedlings. But in 5 years, we've grown. Where will we be at in 10 years? Where will we be at in 15 years? Where will we be at in 20 years? Where will we be at in 50 or 100 years? This is the beginning of the birth of a new mindset among Black people.
Absolutely.
Regardless of religion, regardless of national origin, regardless of our age or background, our education or our economic status, we come together in unity for the cause of freedom, the cause of justice, the cause of equality, calling on the strength and the knowledge of all of our ancestors who have come behind us, putting that together, producing one mind, one people, with the same idea. Overall, freedom. See, we can't go into another generation talking about the desire to be free. We have produced a generation of warriors who are ready for freedom. All they need is the organizational structure and the right leadership. What do you mean the right leadership? The right leadership that understands that to truly be leaders, we have to birth new leaders into existence who can direct people with wisdom on where we should go to get what we are trying to get. Does it take patience? Of course it takes patience. Does it take love? Of course it takes love. Does it take brotherhood and sisterhood? Of course it takes brotherhood and sisterhood. But we've learned those things already and the value of those things going forward. So I agree with my brother. We are forever moving forward. We are never going back. It is impossible for us to go back. You know why it's impossible for us to go back, brother? Because we are moving with time. We are on time and we are in time. And if you watch the clock, as much as you want to go back and change, the clock keeps moving forward. See? But if we are in line with time, as the clock moves forward in time, we move forward with time. We become the idea whose time has come. We are unstoppable in that sense because the universe is behind us, pushing us forward. And that's how we're able to overcome all opposition and all resistance to this struggle. So I wanted to share that, brother, because it's truly a blessing to be a part of this in this time, especially if we know it. And we're right there on the edge, right? And if we are patient to see through the darkness and the cloud of COVID-19, the coronavirus, and shelter in place, you got to be patient to see through the fog of war. They train soldiers so that when the gunshots are going off and bombs are going off, that they don't panic, because in their panic, they can lose their life. But the well-trained soldier knows how to still stay the course of battle. Through the fog of war, he can see his enemy clearly. And then he can take his shot. That's where we at right now. This is resistance. But it's a necessary resistance for people who have to learn to overcome struggle in the right spirit, in the right mindset, not be overcome by struggle, to resist the pressure, not be overcome by the pressure. It's our training ground, because the next generation, brother, they marching into the promised land.
Ready. They ready.
Remember, it was 40 years that the children of Israel walked in the wilderness for the old to die off, an old mindset, and for the new to go in. And when they went in, Joshua and Caleb, they took the promised land in one day, brother.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that makes sense. I just wanted to add that and really just thank you, brother, for coming up with this idea of doing this and putting us out here like that. But I couldn't let it end without sharing what was sparked in me from your question.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Brother Ali, closing words? Any closing words from you?
Oh man, just I echo the thanks, brother, for doing this, man. I wasn't sure what to expect, but it's been a honor and a privilege. You know what I'm saying? Just to spend time on the evening, and and help me to rededicate myself. You know what I mean? Just hearing everybody's passion and everybody's heart. We haven't seen each other in a while. But just I appreciate y'all. I love y'all for everything that you're doing, and and we're gonna get the victory in this, man. I'm just excited about the work. Let's just keep going forward and keep building.
Absolutely. Zoe, closing words for us?
Meet myself. No, thank you for doing this. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity for us to share a little bit of who we are and our positions within the LOC. Um, I, I think there's one thing that Brother Trumik just mentioned that stuck out to me is patience, right? Looking past everything that is going on and not allowing that to be too much of a distraction and be focused and patient and what the end result is. And that definitely stuck with me. And I think, it's been 400 years of being patient. All right. So I think we'll have to be a little bit more patient, but um, I can feel the energy. I can sense that there is a change within us as a people, globally, no matter where we are. There's definitely a change in direction taking place. And I'm excited to see where this develops. And I'm grateful to be a part of the LLC, to be a part of this movement and this dynamics that's happening right now. So thank you for managing this and organizing us.
Absolutely. Well, I'm just happy to be part of a organization of like-minded brothers and sisters, man, and it just gives me confidence to know that my whole thing is going forward anyway. That's my life principle. That's how I live. Like no matter what I go through, don't stop nothing. Yeah, we got to keep going forward. So just hearing that, kind of warms my heart, man. I really appreciate all of you guys, all of y'all. I love y'all.
Love you too, brother.
Tough to go through this where we can't, what I'm saying, give each other some hugs and what I'm saying, and it's tough, but we'll make it through. And I appreciate each one of you. To the family out there, there's many more episodes to come. Just stay the course, stay focused, wash your hands, take care of yourself, and just know that you're not alone. There's brothers and sisters out here that just putting in the work, not for you and for the global family. And it's going to be a long struggle. It's going to continue. Like the brother said, this is not easy. What we're doing right now is an act of resistance. Just me celebrating my anniversary with my wife is an act of resistance. You understand? So, and raising my children.
Happy anniversary, brother.
Oh, all right, thank you, sir.
Yeah,
And
anniversary.
and raising our children. We're fathers in the home raising our children. That's not good in the eyes of the oppressor. So this is how, and I'll just say this and we'll end it out for the night, family. This is how you know that things is changing. This is how you know that the old way is truly going to be the old way, because we're waking up. The dry bones in the valley are waking up. The children are waking up. We are the children of this planet, of this universe, of the sun. That's for another discussion. All right, family. So thank you once again for tuning in tonight, you guys. This is our inaugural episode or our pilot episode of the Waking Giant podcast. Prepare for more episodes. And we live by the principles. You heard it all tonight from three of the heads of the leadership here with the Phoenix LOC. But justice or else, got to say that part too, because that's the part I like the most. But justice, you know what I'm saying? Like we're there. It's justice or else.
Or else.
You know what I'm saying? So, and if anybody has a problem with that, It's not a us problem. It's a you problem. All right. And on that note, I want to say good night. Thanks again, family, Brother Ali, Brother Chami, my dear sister Zoe. We're going to do it. We're going to forward. Thanks again, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your night and stay tuned for the next episode of the Waking Giant podcast. Have a good night.
Right.